Some of the worst betrayals start not with a scream, but with soft laughter, a sound that hides a wicked plan. The story began in Chicago, where the city lights shone brightly, welcoming a wealthy businessman from Dubai named Sheikh Marwan Al-Saeed. Marwan, a successful property investor, was spending part of his time in the United States. He was a kind, lonely man. Then he met Tessa Rowan, a charming 29-year-old from Illinois. Tessa's smile was beautiful, but it was really a trap, carefully set to catch someone rich. When they met at a fancy charity gala, Marwan saw in her a beautiful light he had been missing. He was blinded by affection. Tessa saw something else. She saw a man whose diamond watch cost more than her entire life savings. She was guided by greed. 2 months later, the joy ended. Sheikh Marwan was found badly hurt in his own penthouse, and a critical land deed, the document for his huge business empire, was on the verge of being transferred to Tessa, or so she thought. This is the story of how money, manipulation, and a plan so wicked it almost worked, until one tiny, overlooked detail dragged everything into daylight, exposing Tessa's plan. Tessa wasn't new to this game. She was a professional shapeshifter. She had changed homes, jobs, boyfriends, and even names the way a snake sheds its skin, always leaving the past behind for something richer. When she met Marwan, she played her role perfectly, soft-spoken, curious, and totally dazzled by his wealth. Marwan, who was divorced and missed having a family, trusted her immediately. By their third date, Tessa wasn't planning the next movie. She was studying him like a student preparing for a final exam. His bank routines, his assistants, his travel schedules, and most importantly, the simple passwords he said too casually. She wasn't in love. She was preparing for ownership. Marwan was not careless, but he was comfortable. His wealth came from a huge real estate empire across Dubai, Bahrain, and Qatar. But what made him truly vulnerable was the one thing he hid from the world. He had no surviving family to inherit his fortune. His health was declining, and he trusted easily, dangerously easily. Tessa didn't just want his money, she wanted his entire identity and his powerful position in the business world. Tessa's plan moved forward quickly, too quickly for Marwan's official advisors, who whispered warnings that he ignored. Within 6 weeks, he told her he wanted to buy her a luxury house in her name. Tessa smiled like it was too much, pretending to be overwhelmed, even though this was exactly what she had come for. But a house wasn't enough. To inherit the rest of his vast business empire and his secret valuable Project Falcon land deed, she needed something permanent: marriage. Marwan's existing will was complicated. It stated that any spouse had to be married for at least 1 year before they could inherit his most valuable assets, including the Falcon deed. Tessa did not intend to wait a year, or even a day. She needed Marwan out of the way before his advisors realized how quickly she was moving in. Marwan owned a massive, luxury penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. One evening, Tessa tried her first step. She added a special, strong, sleeping supplement to his evening tea. But Marwan didn't finish the tea. He only drank half of it. He woke up confused, but alive, in the middle of the night. Tessa hid her huge frustration behind a mask of caring concern. "Maybe you're just overworking, my love," she whispered, pretending to be worried. Inside, her mind raced. Simple poison or supplements wouldn't be reliable. She needed something final, fast, and completely untraceable. Marwan planned a trip to Dubai to finalize the donation of the valuable Project Falcon land deed to a humanitarian foundation. This was her biggest fear. If he donated the deed, she would lose billions. Tessa convinced him to delay the trip. Why not rest here instead? I'll cook your favorite meal. We'll relax. While he relaxed, Tessa was busy. She had already paid a shady locksmith to copy his penthouse spare key. She had already drafted a fake marriage certificate, awaiting a forged signature. She had already researched accidental falls and how long it takes for the police to find bodies in high-rise buildings. She kissed him like a loving bride. She planned like a greedy widow. The final act was set for a quiet Sunday evening. The scene was set. It was a clear Sunday evening. Marwan was on his penthouse balcony, enjoying the cool breeze from Lake Michigan. He was tired, but peaceful. Tessa approached him from behind, acting casually, offering him a glass of sparkling cider. The cider contained nothing, but it was the distraction she needed. Then, in one swift, terrible motion, she moved. She didn't push him hard enough to kill him instantly, but she shoved him over the high steel railing, aiming for the city street below. But Marwan was stronger than she thought. He was an athletic man, even with his health issues. He grabbed the metal railing with both hands, dangling high above the street, his entire life hanging on his grip. "Tessa!" "Why?" he gasped out, his voice a terrified whisper, lost in the wind. She didn't answer. She stood above him, cold and silent. Tessa lifted her foot and stomped down hard on his fingers. Once. Twice. The sound of his bones cracking was lost in the city noise. His grip finally broke. The city lights swallowed him completely. Tessa stood there, trembling not from guilt, but from the rush of adrenaline. The terrible deed was done. Her plan, rehearsed 1,000 times in her head, began immediately. The story. He slipped. They were drinking wine, which she quickly poured down the drain. He leaned too far over the balcony. She tried desperately to save him, but failed. The performance. She ran inside, called the building security, and screamed, crying in all the right places, making sure her face looked shocked and heartbroken. The initial police investigation was quick. They saw no struggle marks inside the apartment. His fall looked clean. A tragic accident. No cameras captured the private balcony. Within a week, Tessa tried to file for immediate control of his US properties, claiming she was his committed partner and that they had secretly signed documents to prove it. The forged papers were convincing, almost perfect. But the case landed on the desk of Detective Adrian Cole, a quiet, meticulous man with a reputation for being relentless. Cole didn't trust easy answers. He looked at the accident and saw only questions. Detective Adrian Cole visited the penthouse the next day. The balcony was sealed with police tape. Cole ignored the tears Tessa had cried in front of the cameras. He focused on the cold, hard facts of the physics of a fall. A team dusted the balcony railing for fingerprints. Cole received the report. "Detective, we have Marwan's fingerprints on the outside railing, where he was holding on for dear life. But there are almost no prints on the inside railing, the part he would grab if he were trying to pull himself back over the edge." Cole's eyes narrowed. The absence of prints was the evidence. If he fell accidentally, Cole explained to his partner, he would instinctively grab the closest point, the railing right in front of him, with maximum force to save himself. His hands would be on the inside railing. But if someone pushed him and he grabbed the outside, he was hanging on, fighting the push from above. This single detail suggested Marwan was dangling, trying to survive, and that someone was above him, preventing him from climbing back up. The accident was now a probable crime. Cole focused on Tessa. He knew she had to have made a mistake. Criminals always leave a tiny piece of themselves behind. He pulled the security footage from the building's main elevator. Tessa claimed she never left the penthouse after the accident until the police arrived. The footage showed otherwise. 10:15 p.m. before the incident, Tessa took the elevator down, carrying a large, dark duffel bag. 10:45 p.m. After the incident, before calling security, Tessa took the elevator down again, this time carrying a tiny folded object, and returned quickly. Cole brought the footage to his tech specialist, Samira. Tessa claimed she was in the penthouse the entire night after they drank tea. She lied twice about leaving the building. Find out what she was doing in those 2 trips. The puzzle was turning from a simple investigation into a complex game of lies and technology. Cole was certain those 2 elevator trips held the true story of how Tessa set up the accident and what she was trying to hide. Samira, the tech specialist, began to analyze the timing of the 2 elevator trips. Trip 1, 10:15 p.m. Tessa left with a large duffel bag. The time frame is critical, Samira explained. Marwan was supposedly drinking the sleeping tea around 9:30 p.m. She must have thought he was already deeply asleep at 10:15 p.m. Detective Cole realized what the duffel bag likely contained: the evidence of the planned poisoning. Tessa's initial plan was to put him to sleep and then stage a natural passing, or use the time to forge his signature on the deed. When he woke up, she had to quickly dispose of the leftover tea, the dirty glasses, and any sign of the sleeping supplement. Tessa's first lie: she left the apartment to dispose of the failed poison attempt and the physical evidence in a dumpster far from the building. Trip 2, 10:45 p.m. Tessa left briefly, carrying a small, folded object just minutes before she called security to report the fall. What could she be hiding so quickly? Cole wondered. She just threw him off the balcony. The shock would be huge. Samira managed to zoom in on the grainy video of the second trip. The small, folded object was Marwan's office phone, which he always kept on the desk. She knew he would have a high-security lock on his office phone, Samira noted. She must have taken it down to put it somewhere secure, maybe a lobby locker, so she could crack the password later and transfer the property deed herself. Cole knew Tessa's game. She needed the Project Falcon land deed that Marwan was about to donate. She thought the deed was on his computer, protected by his phone. The whole plot was about stealing that deed, not just his money. Cole brought Tessa back in for questioning, armed with the undeniable proof of her lies about leaving the building. Tessa's perfect composure finally began to crack. Her answers twisted into new, fragile excuses. Her voice cracked under the weight of the evidence. In the interrogation room, Detective Cole placed 2 photos on the table. One of the empty, clean railing, where Marwan's prints were only on the outside, and one of Tessa leaving the building with the duffel bag at 10:15 p.m. "You told us you never left the penthouse, Tessa," Cole said, his voice quiet and relentless. "The camera says you left at 10:15 p.m. to dispose of evidence from your first failed attempt to harm Marwan with supplements in his tea." Tessa's face went white. She knew the police now had proof of her premeditation. She stammered, I went down to get my wallet. I needed cash for room service." Cole showed her the picture of her with the duffel bag. "Room service takes small bags, Tessa, not a huge duffel bag meant for trash." Cole then played the second clip. Tessa with Marwan's office phone. "And you came back down minutes after Marwan fell to hide his office phone, hoping to steal the Project Falcon land deed and transfer his fortune to yourself. You weren't a concerned girlfriend. You were a calculated thief. Cracks became fissures. Tessa's beautiful mask was crumbling. Cole knew that while Tessa was the mastermind, she was too smart to do everything herself. He pressed her on the locksmith she used to copy Marwan's spare key, the one she planned to use if she needed to re-enter the apartment after staging his death. Who helped you copy the key to the penthouse? Tessa, cornered, finally spat out the name. A shady locksmith she met in a cheap bar. The locksmith, easily tracked down and pressured by Cole's team, confessed immediately, confirming Tessa paid him a large amount of cash for the illegal key copy. The locksmith's testimony destroyed Tessa's claim that she was a committed partner who had keys to the apartment. The plan was clear. Tessa planned to kill Marwan, use the fake marriage papers, and use the copied key to access his documents whenever she pleased. The next piece of evidence was the forged marriage license. Tessa had claimed she and Marwan were secretly married just before the incident. Marwan's advisors were suspicious from the start. They flew in from Dubai with the original will documents. Samira, the tech specialist, analyzed the supposed signed marriage certificate Tessa presented. The signature is a highly sophisticated forgery, Samira reported. But the stamp of the Illinois County Clerk's office is 3 months out of date. The seal color was changed recently, and she used the old version. The forged marriage license was proven fake. Tessa had been caught on a technicality, a tiny, outdated detail of a government stamp. The 1-year rule for inheritance was now irrelevant. She wasn't his spouse at all. This lie confirmed her motive. She didn't want to wait a year to inherit, so she planned to murder him quickly and use a forged document to claim everything. Cole knew the final nail in the coffin was still missing, undeniable proof that she planned the death itself. He turned his attention back to technology. Tessa's phone was a dead end. It was wiped clean. But Cole remembered that Tessa was obsessed with accidental deaths and how long it took for bodies to be found. Samira, Cole instructed. Tessa was researching how to hide a crime. She deleted everything, but a phone's memory is never truly erased. I want you to recover every search she ever made in the last 3 months. The challenge was enormous, but the team had to find the digital ghost of her wicked plan. They needed proof that she planned the fatal push. Samira worked tirelessly for 2 days, using specialized software to dig into the deepest parts of Tessa's phone memory. She was trying to reconstruct the digital history that Tessa had carefully erased. Finally, a file appeared, a collection of deleted search terms. The list was chilling, a digital diary of her descent into greed, best way to dispose of evidence without trace. How long does heart sedative take to wear off? Accidental fall versus pushed? Balcony railing height regulations Chicago. Can deleted search history be recovered? The evidence was undeniable. Tessa hadn't just acted in a moment of panic. She had studied, planned, and calculated the perfect way to make Marwan's death look like an accident. But the most critical piece of evidence Samira found wasn't a search term. It was a file called Voice Note 712. Tessa hadn't just deleted her search history. She had also deleted a voice memo, believing it was gone forever. Samira recovered the voice note. The audio was faint, but clear enough. It was Tessa whispering to herself, rehearsing her story right before the fatal push. Tessa recorded, "He slipped. I tried to save him. God, I tried. The wind. No, don't mention the wind. Stick to the wine. Must make sure the deed is transferred before the Foundation finds out. Project Falcon is mine." Detective Cole felt a wave of cold certainty. The digital ghost had returned to haunt the killer. Detective Cole didn't need to ask Tessa any more questions. The evidence spoke louder than any scream. He assembled the entire case file. The fingerprints. Marwan's prints only on the outside of the railing, proving he was pushed and struggling for life. The elevator footage, proving Tessa lied and disposed of the poisoning evidence, and Marwan's phone for the deed theft. The forgery. The outdated stamp on the marriage certificate, confirming her desperate plan to inherit immediately. The voice note. The recovered recording of her rehearsing the accident, proving premeditated murder and the motive of stealing the Project Falcon land deed. Cole and his team went to Tessa's luxury apartment. She was there, surprisingly calm, half-packed suitcase on the bed, passport in her hand. She was preparing to flee the country with what she thought was Marwan's fortune. The moment the police walked in, Tessa knew it was over. Reporters, alerted by a tip, were shouting outside the building. "Did you kill him? Were you after his fortune? Was it planned?" Tessa didn't respond. She just stared straight ahead. Greed rarely confesses. Tessa Rowan, the woman with the perfect smile, was arrested and taken away. The end of her reign of deception was quiet, fast, and final. Marwan al-Said, who was critically injured but alive, slowly began to recover in a private hospital. The initial reports of his death were proven false. He had survived the fall by landing on an awning several floors below, though he was badly hurt. The discovery that he was alive changed everything for the Foundation. Marwan's recovery was difficult, but the news that Tessa was arrested for attempting to steal his fortune brought him a strange kind of peace. He realized that the woman he loved had been a cold, calculated thief. Since Marwan was alive, his original will stood strong. All his properties and the valuable Project Falcon land deed were immediately transferred to a respected humanitarian foundation in Dubai, fulfilling his original wish. Tessa's greedy plot failed completely. Detective Cole visited Marwan in the hospital. Marwan, weak but lucid, confirmed everything. His trust, his vulnerability, and his donation plans. "I am just grateful for the prints on the outside of the railing, Detective," Marwan whispered, "and for your persistence." The story of Tessa Rowan became a massive scandal in Chicago and Dubai. She was charged with attempted murder, aggravated assault, and corporate espionage, the planned theft of the deed. Tessa's trial was quick. The recovered voice note sealed her fate. She was sentenced to a long term in prison, trading 2 months of luxury for decades of regret. Marwan's penthouse balcony, the site of the violent struggle, was completely renovated, but residents in the building still whispered about the strange wind that hummed there at night. The place where the lie was set was forever marked by the sound of her betrayal. Detective Adrian Cole closed the file on Tessa Rowan. It was a case that reminded him that the most dangerous criminals are often the ones who hide behind the most charming masks. He taught young recruits the lesson of the railing prints. Always look for the evidence that should be there, but is missing. Marwan al-Said, now fully recovered, continued his life, more cautious but more determined than ever to use his fortune for good through the Foundation. He never forgot the kindness of the city lights that didn't warn him, but the methodical nature of the detective who saved him. Tessa Rowan's story became a chilling, global reminder. The deadliest scams don't come from strangers in the dark. They come from smiling faces that walk through your door, guided only by the cold, calculating lure of greed. Tessa's plan to gain a fortune and a new identity ended with her losing everything. Caught by an overlooked detail, the digital ghost of her own voice. Her smooth talk was finally silenced by the hard truth.